Welcome to Moving the Needle, the podcast packed with digital marketing strategies crafted exclusively for med spas. If you're looking to draw in more patients, grow your revenue, and level up your business, you're in the right place. This show is your inside track to scaling smarter. Get ready to glow up and get your injection of med spa marketing strategies with your host, Chris Fink.
All right, welcome back to Moving the Needle, the show where we talk about ways to get your digital marketing right and have marketing that's correct, especially in aesthetics practices. Today, I'm really excited to have a conversation with Livilla Latini. She is on the call from Italy, and she is really focused on brand imaging and graphic design and how to push assets out to your audience that are going to nurture the brand voice and facilitate conversions in the marketing pipeline. Livilla, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, this point is really just kind of the intersection of creativity and expression and influence in the marketing funnels for the aesthetics practices. And I guess, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get first into creating content and sharing those things online?
Well, I'm a graphic designer, so I started there, and then I started working for a company that actually is in wellness for doctors, and then I realized how important it was to communicate to the client patient, about treatments and how everything works and the benefits of each product that you're selling, and how important it is for practitioners to be able to expose their services in a way that looks professional.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And how would you describe the journey and the aesthetics that you're creating for your personal brand?
What do you mean by that?
Well, what inspires your creative direction when you take on a client or you start creating some assets for these aesthetic or wellness practices? Like, how does that vision come together for you?
Well, it depends. Like, if you work for a direct customer, then you always follow a bit their voice, like their brand visuals. If not, usually for wellness centers or med spa, I just follow a clean look that is easy to read, which is very important. And then you always try to use colors that also reflect the product that you're selling.
Yeah, so do you ever find that there's conflicts between like the color palettes for the brand voice versus the products versus the audience?
Absolutely. The thing is that sometimes customers, maybe they're like, oh, I like this font or I like this color, but they don't come together, or they're not speaking the right language to their audience. So you have to kind of change that, because it's very important in marketing that everything is clear and readable. So, the letters have to be readable. And sometimes people want to use maybe some fonts that it could be cute, but you can't read it.
Right. Yeah, and the fancy scripts that are just tough to make out from a distance quickly.
Exactly. So that's sometimes the challenge.
Yeah, so do you usually look at like any particular tool sets or workflows or like rituals to help you kind of stay creative but maintain that consistency and kind of align those different assets in a way that makes sense for the viewer?
Well, I mean, I always think of myself as the user as well, right? So I'm always thinking like, what would this tell me? Like, if I look at this, what would it make me feel? Can I read it? Or would it make me want to walk into this wellness center? And I think that's the key, that what you can do is always do that, and then always look at your competition.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so if you're competing with other spas, you always want to also look out if there is a new trend, or what are they doing? And then you can also see what not to do, right? Because sometimes you look at something like, oh, you can't read that. That's not working. So you don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. That makes me think though, when I look at these things, sometimes what you said about like looking at it like the end user, like the potential patient, right, that we might be
Correct.
marketing to, how do they see it? And when I try to look at it through those eyes, though, sometimes I'm influenced by my personal taste versus what performs well on social or on a web page or a landing page funnel. How do you balance that? Like, or what guidance would you give to a practice looking to balance their personal taste with what performs well?
For sure. Well, personal taste, if you're creating something, will always come to play because you cannot make something you don't like, right? Like, it's unless you're a designer and you have to because you have a customer, but that's a different thing. If it's for yourself, you're going to have to like it. If not, you're not going to use
Right.
it, right?
Sure.
Right. But what I always recommend is if you have no knowledge about it, read a little bit because there are basic things that you need to know, like the size of the font, how many fonts to use together, what colors go together. Like if you put 10 colors into one post, it's not going to work out,
Right.
right? So always do a small research. It's not going to take you more than 15 minutes. I'm not saying do a deep dive because that's not what you want to do, right? But just some basics, rules you can follow that then you say, okay, I have 3 colors, that's enough. Or I have 2 colors, that's enough. I don't need to put all the colors I like of the rainbow.
Yeah. Now, just thinking about like for our viewers, would you say that 3 colors is kind of the number to stick to? How many
Yes.
fonts? How many
Yes. So
fonts
I, I
should you
would
look at?
I would do either 2 or 3 colors at the most.
Okay.
You always need a light color and then a color that create contrast and then a color that could like be an accent,
Okay.
right? But for example, if you're going to use a beige background, then you cannot use, I don't know, a light brown letter because you're not going to read it,
Right.
right? So you're going to use a darker color
Sure.
so you can read it. And then I would stick to 2 fonts at the most. If
Okay.
you really want to put a third one, but very tiny. But if you stay with two, one with the title, or like the words you want to see the most, let's say, to display the most, you make them bigger, and then you can use another font for smaller, and that's it. You're playing it safe. And then the important thing is when you choose colors and fonts, you have to keep using them, meaning that you need to create a visual identity where customer will know, oh, that's a post from. It doesn't mean they all have to look alike, but that's not what I'm saying. But you don't want to be using yellow, an example, right? Yellow in one pose, then orange, then blue, then pink, then red, and then you just don't know who you are.
Yeah. So brand consistency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
And when you're past the colors and the fonts, like this is great stuff. Like somebody can kind of get a crash course on how to create some of these things. What do you think the role of, say, between photography versus image composition or visual composition? How do you view those and their roles in the storytelling part of this?
Well, they're both extremely important because, everything is going to be visual. So you always want to use good images. Clear, good images. You don't want to use blurred images or, very dark images. That's very important. And the composition itself, it's also very important. Composition can be a bit tricky, but the main thing I would say is remember to align everything. Like
Okay.
you don't want, words all over, align everything. And then you can choose if you like it to the left, if you like it to the middle, but align everything. And then depending on the tools you're using and what you want to do, of course, but also remember to keep the same distance between each sentence that you're writing, right? Because you don't want to be, so always try to keep everything well aligned and properly separated, and that will make it look more professional.
Wow, that's great feedback. Yeah, thank you. So, you know, it brings to mind another question that I have, which is, oh, I don't know. I think of it kind of like authenticity, like the human element versus the algorithm, and just having like emotional intelligence in our creator philosophy. There's so much pressure these days for content to perform online, or for, you know, visuals to perform online. But that doesn't necessarily, I mean, perform online doesn't necessarily say that authenticity is the biggest thing. How do you engineer your content or your designs so that they can help a practice stay authentic while continuing to grow their audience?
Good. Well, the most important thing is what you're giving to your audience, right? So like you don't want to do just promotions because you're not giving anything to your audience. So you always have to keep your audience engaged. Also, you need to, you want to inform your audience. You also want to give them something. So they're coming to you because you're giving them something, not just a promotion, because they can see promotion anywhere. But, maybe they're looking for something specific and they want to know how it works. They can see it there. Or maybe they want to see images of before and after, or what would happen, or frequently asked questions, or, also if you have any question, contact me. All those things will create engagement, and then people will trust your brand and they will come to you for the product.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And when you're designing these, like, how do you handle some of the creative blocks or the comparison trap that comes with creating content that's out there in a pretty competitive market? The aesthetics market has a ton of practices pushing as much as possible, and it's almost like they're trying to just flood without necessarily the quality. So how do you avoid that comparison track and actually make them stand out?
Well, I go back to what I just said, which is, make sure you're giving something to your audience, because as you say, sometimes you see post or material that is not giving you anything, right?
Yeah.
So at least I think the most important thing is to, create posts that are interesting. They can also be funny sometimes, of course, right?
Sure.
So you mix them up a little, you have some fun, and then you can have, some quotes or something related to your business. But always for me, and especially in the wellness business, it's about informing your patient, because I'm coming to you for a specific service, and a service that it's wanted to make me feel better or improve something. So I want to know the why of it. I want to know how it works. I want to know, okay, I'm coming. Why am I coming to you? Why am I choosing you instead of your competitor?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And that, in that, those whys and those unique propositions, those unique triggers that put things out, did you ever have like a piece of content that you created, or a post or a design, that just absolutely blew up and you did not expect that at all?
I did
Yeah.
actually on my business Instagram. I just put a quote about small businesses, like thinking, well, this is how I'm feeling, and then it was just just boomed, and I was like, well, I guess everybody's feeling that way.
Yeah. And that, when that happens, when you have those like crazy responses, like, there's such valuable lessons in there, because it gives you a real feedback loop and indicator of like what your audience, what they're thinking, what they're feeling at any point. Was there, I mean, aside from like a lot of people thinking the same thing, was there any other like big lessons in that piece of content that you took away that you leveraged?
Well, yeah, which was, just be real.
Yeah.
Be real. And I think it's sometimes we try not to be real, or think that being real, could show a side that is not the best side. And then you realize that being real is what connects you with most people.
Yeah. Now, Livilla, you generate creatives specifically for med spas and aesthetics practices and wellness practices. When did you start thinking about that as a business, and how did your philosophy on brand collaborations like evolve?
Well, Well, a funny thing, I didn't. I started the store with completely different approach, and then I was asked to collaborate with a practitioner that was making marketing material for doctors, and then I liked it, and I started researching and learning, and then. Uh, Customers just keep asking for new products or new ideas, and then it just developed into what it is right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, what a great journey for you in that sense. And
It
uh,
was.
now you have assets, and do you push those out globally using Etsy?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. And if somebody wanted to find some of those and look at those and potentially engage you or to acquire any of those Canva templates, they're largely templates that they can edit and tune up with like their logo and their unique message.
Correct. What I do templates on Canva, which is a free platform where you can design, right?
Yeah.
So, but the template is basically ready. It's designed. It has pictures and it has content. The good thing is that you can use Canva to change if you want to change anything, and then change your colors very easily and the font. And you can also add your logo, and then you're ready. Like in 10 minutes, you have 50 posts, or in 10 minutes, you have a flyer ready to be print out.
Nice. So that's a kind of a almost prepackaged like graphic designer that gives you a whole bunch of different variations and versions that you can get, and you can swipe and deploy very quickly.
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
correct. And because it's mine are aimed to wellness, they most of them already have the content. So you
Yeah.
just have to read them through, adjust it. Like you don't have to think, oh, what am I going to write into the flyer, right? Or how am I going to do this? So you
Right.
just read it through, make sure it goes with your philosophy, fit with your product, and then it saves a lot of time, which I think
Sure.
it's what we all need more of.
Yeah, that's the truth. We do. When you're thinking about creators and marketing managers and practices of that, what advice would you give them when they're trying to like land their first brand guide and asset set that they can push out on these platforms?
You're meaning on Etsy?
Oh, just in general. I mean, Etsy, yeah, but then also as they're creating these graphic design products.
Right, but for themselves, for their own, to
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
better the questions.
yeah,
Well, we go back to the same thing. First of all, create your visual identity, create your own voice. So that's the first thing you need, absolutely. Because once you have that, right, so you know your colors, you know your fonts, you know what kind of picture you want to know, and then you know your product, you know what you want to sell, or you know what you want your customer to know. Like, do you need a patient educational sheet? Then you just put the information. Do you want to promote, I don't know, a product, a service, and then everything flows from there.
yeah. Okay. When
Yeah.
when you're getting into that creative mode and it's time to start putting together a new product or a new collection, what kind of feedback do you thrive on? Like what feedback fuels your creativity the most?
I would definitely say when I see, feedback saying, "Oh, thank you, this was great. It saved me a lot of time. Is what I was looking for," which is exactly what I want to do, right? I want to save time for you, like you do your job, so you don't have to worry about designing something that will take you 10 hours or whatever time. It's ready, it's done, and you can go ahead and do your job, but have a professional looking flyers for you to promote yourself.
Yeah. Yep. And what kind of trends do you see shaping up this space as we move into 2026?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of lighter colors, I would say.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I see lighter colors. I see more images and small text, which I am not a big fan of because you can't read them.
Right. Right.
But that's just me. Sometimes I'm like, this looks cute, but you can't read it.
Sure. Yeah, I have to have these with me at all times for that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And what's next for you, Livilla? Like, do you have upcoming projects or goals that you're excited about?
Well, I am working on a new peptide series for the store, which is very exciting, and I'm just starting that out, and yeah, that's basically what I'm working on.
Nice. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to more of that. And then at the end of this, or maybe after we stop recording, I'll get the links to those places so that I can put them in the show notes, and any viewers can go visit that and see some of these collections. And if they work for them, then they could go ahead and get them there.
Absolutely.
Just for a little bit of fun, I just like to ask just a couple little, I don't know, rapid fire, just fun questions.
Sure.
So now you're in the area of Florence, Italy, yes?
Correct.
But
Yes.
you have lived abroad most of your life.
Yes, correct. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm not from Florence. I'm actually from Milan originally.
Okay.
But now I live here. Yeah.
Nice. What is your favorite travel destination for inspiration?
Wow, that's a very hard question. Well, wow, that's hard. I love the beach. So, um, and I lived in Mexico for 2 years.
Okay.
And I find Mexico to be very inspiring in so many different ways.
Nice. Yeah. I've been a couple different times, but sadly to mostly the tourist traps. So I
Yeah,
need to get out
yeah.
and enjoy the rest.
Yeah. But then again, I live in Italy, right? And in Florence, where you just walk outside. And yeah, I mean, that's why I
Right.
was like, it's very hard, you know?
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, yeah, you must be really starved for creative inspiration there
You
in
know,
Florence, Italy.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's an inspiration is everywhere. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
I am lucky enough to live in a very
Yeah.
artsy area.
What's one tool that you use in your work life that you cannot live without?
I would, well, obviously Canva.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
That's fair enough.
yeah.
And one piece of advice that you would give for a new creator or a new graphic artist starting from zero that wants to enter your space.
To keep trying, because sometimes sometimes you try something and it doesn't work, and it doesn't mean that your work is not good enough. It just means that you just need to try something different, or keep trying, or look for different audience.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's the thing. Persistence beats resistance, right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Because
Yeah.
it's easy to give up and be like, oh, people don't like my work, but that's not necessarily true.
Right. It's just a matter of continuing until you find the right audience.
Exactly, or exactly, find your right audience, and and we all improve through practice. So even if the first few designs you do are not the best, it's okay. We've all been there. I look back at my designs, I don't know, 5 years, and I'm like, wow, 5 years ago, and it's normal. We evolve.
Yeah, I look at things that I did 5 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking then. But that's
Right? You're
in
like,
context to where we're at now. Yeah.
correct, because we have 5 years more of experience. Of course, now you probably know better, but back then you didn't. But if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be here.
Right, exactly. Livilla, if anybody wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, it would definitely be, they can either text me through Etsy, or they can send me an email.
Okay, great. And I will put that email address in the show notes as well. So anybody that has a direct
Perfect.
request, or if they want to look at maybe engaging you for some custom design, they can reach out and do that. Yeah, and so I think with that, I really appreciate your time today, and you
Well, thank you.
joining over here and being part of the conversation and help lead this and give some good insight and information. A lot of times in med spas, you get overwhelmed with trying to do everything yourself, including being the content creator and the manager and the social manager or the marketing manager. And so if there are tools out there that can make that job easier and streamline those productions and just free up your time a little bit, this might be one of those assets. So Livilla, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this information. I'll make sure that the links to your Etsy store and all your other assets are in the show notes. And with that, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and I hope my information was could help somebody.
Absolutely, yes.